telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 379308 or 0736 352224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics, quality you can trust. Welcome to Blackman Digital Graphics. We offer design, printing, and branding services using large format printing, offset, and digital printing. Our approach to printing, graphics design, and branding is top-notch with quality services including roll-up banners, street banners, teardrops, reflective banners, telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 379308 or 0736 352224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics, quality.
to the vibrant morning here at BTV Kenya. Today is July 8, 2024. 2024. Feel free, my dear viewers, and today we have goodies for you. Remember, vibrant morning always brings you newspaper review with me, Isaiah Gagi. We want to just dive straight into the newspaper, and remember, we are giving you newspaper review on People Daily, which is a free copy. You can just walk around and pick your free copy of the People Daily and just get a glimpse and read what is inside there. You can follow us on BTV Kenya, that is YouTube, Blackman TV, that's on Facebook page, BTV, TikTok, BTV Kenya on Twitter. Keep sending your comments, keep asking questions regarding to the newspaper review of this morning, 18th July 2024. Just to go straight into the People Daily newspaper, on the cover page, the headline of the story of the newspaper is Police Force Gone Nut. The police force has gone nut. You'll find the story there on page 4. From killing the innocent youths, demanding good governance, arrest, detention of protesters, rogue security agencies now turn their guns on journalists. You can get much of the story on page 4. And on the same cover page, you realize that Teacher Service Commission shocker for teachers after budget cut. You will get that also on page 13 of the newspaper. Now, we also have on the cover page joint editorial, Stop the Madness, it is time for arrest. That's a joint editorial which I'm going to begin with this morning. You can only get that on the daily, on the People Daily. The recent wave of Gen Z protest has spotlighted the legitimate concern and voice of our youth who are championing meaningful change and recognition. These protests, however, have also been marred by alarming incidents of violence against Kenyans, including journalists, the abduction of veteran editor Macharia Gaito on Wednesday, the shooting of MediaMax network broadcast journalist Catherine Wanjeri wa Kariuki in Nakuru on Tuesday, and the police spraying of CNN photojournalist Fabian Mahire as he worked in Nairobi Central Business District are the most recent incidents. This targeting of journalists is unacceptable and must be condemned. Now, the joint editorial journalist editors come together and they are now saying it is time for the arrest, that the government need to move with speed and arrest the rogue police officers who in the recent past have indicated that they have no concern for the journalists who are just but doing their works, reporting for the people what is happening since the demonstration started. You can get that story and read more on the first page and continue to page 10. Now, down on the same cover page, Azimio in disarray over Ruto dialogue. Protester. The media should get out. This statement is not going to be read here. So many of our people have died in the hands of police for a long time now. That's a voice which was captured as a protester demand when yesterday the press briefing that the Azimio team had was mad with chaos. You will get that story on page 3. We'll give you a glimpse of that. Now let us just move straight into page 2, where we have a story. The story is of none of bodies retrieved from quarry dam site had bullet marks. This is a report from the government pathologist. You can read that of story. The story is there by Zadok Angira. None of the 9 bodies from the quarry dam site had injuries which could be assigned to bullet. Externally, or even from the examination of the body, the chief government pathologist, Dr. Johansen Oduor, has said one of the bodies had head injuries while others was strangled. Now from the government pathologist, chief government pathologist, who had been doing postmortem on the bodies which were retrieved from quarry dam site, is now stating that from the story that those bodies does not have bullet marks, both from inside or from the body. You can get rid much of the story, and Johnson Oduor is saying that from the 9 bodies that he has conducted, that he has gone through, and is saying those bodies only one contains hit on the head, while others demonstrate that the bodies were strangled. You can get rid much of the story. This will help to understand more of the angle that these deaths, which were the mutilated bodies which were retrieved at quarry dam site, is taking a twist turn, different from what the members of the public had been anticipating. Get rid that story only on the People Daily newspaper. The story is by Zadok Angira, and it is on page 2. Now on the same page 2, medical interns posting scheduled for August 1st. The 1,210 medics report to work after settlement of case and signing an agreement between the ministry and the union. Remember, there had been demonstration as health workers went on the streets demanding that the interns were to be paid well. And now the schedule and the agreement is on, and the medical interns are to report on first after the agreement and signing. The story is there by George Kibaso and Mercy Mwende. Newly recruited medical interns will be posted from August 1st, but their salaries will be paid after settlement of a pending case in the Employment and Labor Relations Court in Eldoret and Nairobi. Now you can get rid much of the stories. Now I believe the interns are at peace. You'll get there a photo and the caption, and more of that story you can read only on the People Daily newspaper. Now we have a filler story there. Ireland's Deputy Prime Minister cancelled Mukuru tour. The story there is by Cynthia Atuo. Ireland Deputy Prime Minister Michael Martin cancelled a planned visit to Mukuru kwa Njenga in Nairobi due to security concerns following the recent discovery of dismembered bodies of quarry at the quarry dam site. Remember, the Ireland Deputy Prime Minister had planned a tour to Mukuru wa Njenga, but he's not able to move to Mukuru wa Njenga because of the recent cases that have been reported from there, and that is what the story is all about. You can get your paper and read more of that story. You'll find that story on page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. Moving on to page 3, the story about the Azimio. Azimio headed for split as Raila and Kalonzo differs. That's what we have on page 3. Now, allies of ODM leader leave meeting and goons attack Kalonzo press briefing shortly after. The story there by Rawlings Otieno. Azimio la Umoja coalition was yesterday headed for a major split after supporters of Azimio principal Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka disagreed over the formation of the government of national unity. Now, yesterday, you remember, there was the chaos that erupted, and the voice was heard that this briefing will not be taking place. The media should leave. You can get much of the story there on page 3 of the People Daily. I believe you'll get much of the information and get what the story is all about, whether Azimia is going to split or not. Filler of the story, filler of another story. Budget cut to land and minister will cripple operation, says MP. The story there by Anthony Mwangi. Remember, after the washing away of the Finance Bill 2024, the government had to resort to cutting the budget, and now MPs are saying the cut to land ministry will cripple operation in the ministry. Let me give you the glimpse of what is there, the brief of the story. MPs have described budget cut to the Ministry of Lands and the National Lands Commissions, saying their operation will grind to a halt if they are approved. Now the Ministry of Land are now crying that if the cut is implemented, if it is approved, then their operation is going to be crippled. Now you can read much of the story there on page 2. Now we also have a story where Deputy Gachagua pays glowing tribute to Bishop Kiuna, the late Bishop Alan Kiuna. President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua yesterday paid a glowing tribute to the founder of Jubilee Christian Church, JCC, televangelist Bishop Alan Kiuna, who died last week after a long battle with the cancer. You can get with much of the story of the tributes that the president and the deputy president gave in regards to the late Dr. Bishop Alan Kiuna, the founder of JCC. That story, you'll only get it there on the People Daily, page 3 of the People Daily. Now, moving on to page 4. Blood-stained hammer among new items seized in Kware killings. Now, remember, there's been reports of the killing in Kware, and we have given you a glimpse that the chief government pathologist now has stated that the mutilated body, the dismembered bodies which undergone the operations, and he has discovered that among the 9 bodies there was no indication of bullet. Now there's a hammer which has also been seized from that killing. The story here in page 4 by Zadok Angira. Homicide detective revisited the house of colleagues Jumais Kalusa, the suspect linked to the dozens of killings in Kware, Nairobi, and have collected additional evidence. Directorate of Criminal Investigation officers said they seized a blood-stained hammer, a pair of pliers, 2 knives, 4 pairs of women's shoes, and a gunny bag. Now you can read much of the story there. You'll get more to know what the story is developing into. Another story, abductors of regime critics links to NIS. Officers are reportedly drawn from agencies that include National Intelligence Service and answer only to 2 senior officers. Now the story is by Zadok Angira and Vanessa Sandra. Let me give you the brief of the story on the first paragraph. Whether the arrest of veteran journalist Mashara Gaito was a case of mistaken identity or botched one, concerns have now been raised about the rampant and humiliating manner in which the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, have been arresting and abducting perceived government critics. Now, this story comes after the abduction of Macharia Gaito, a veteran journalist. Now, the story is out and it is linked to the NIS, the abductions of government critics. Now, you can get to read much of that story on page 4 of the People Daily. Now, let's move to page 5 of the People Daily. State Right Agency decries fatalities. 4 people were allegedly shot dead on Tuesday in Nairobi, Kitengela, and Makueni during the protest. Now, the state right agencies are crying for fatalities, the number of deaths which are increasing. The story here is by Charity Shitote. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, KNCHR, has reported that a total of 50 people have died in relation to the anti-government protest since June 18th. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights noted that some of them succumbed to injuries while undergoing treatment at various medical facilities, while others were found in the debris at the banned Sabin Mall in Nairobi. Now, Human Rights Commission is now crying about the number of deaths which are being reported daily as a result of the demonstrations that are ongoing. You will get to read that and more of that story on page 5 of the People Daily. Now we have a filler story. Lawyers lobby accuse police of trumping up riot charges. The story is there by Charity Shitote. The Law Society of Kenya, LSK, yesterday accused the police of seeking for arraign scores of protesters arrested following Tuesday's anti-government demonstrations on trumped up charges. You can get to read more of that story on page 5. Let us move to page 6 of the People Daily. I'll be taking you page by page. Remember, you can follow us on BTV Kenya, that is on YouTube, Blackman TV on Facebook page. You can also follow us on BTV Kenya Twitter, BTV Kenya Instagram, BTV Kenya on TikTok. Remember to leave a comment or send a question. And remember, you can get a copy of People Daily, which is a free newspaper. Grab your copy and start reading. Moving on to page 6. Media uproar over abduction of veteran journalist. The abduction of veteran editor Macharia Gaito within their premises of a police station yesterday morning attracted widespread condemnation from the media, stakeholders, and Kenya at large. You'll get that story only on page 6 of People Daily. Moving on to Nakuru. Nakuru scribes protest over shooting of Media Max reporter. There is a photo and people demonstrating over the killing. Group CEO condemns police action, terms it a brutality against reporters covering the anti-government demos. Story by PD team. That's People Daily team. Outraged greeted the shooting of Kameme TV journalist Catherine Wanjeri by a trigger happy police officer during Tuesday anti-government protest in Nakuru County. Journalists in Nakuru and Kiambu counties held peaceful demonstrations yesterday to demand the arrest of the officer behind the shooting, even as media stakeholders condemn the incident. Remember the shooting on Tuesday of Kameme journalist sparked demonstration, and the media has come out to condemn what happened. Now, we also have a filler story there. Judge Daniel Ogembo dies in his house in Siaya County. In case you didn't get that, the story is there on page 6 of the People Daily by Eric Juma. Siaya High Court Judge Daniel Ogembo is dead. Siaya County Police Commander Clayt Kimaiyo confirmed that Justice Ogembo was found dead in his house yesterday morning. The story about the judge Daniel Ogembo who died in Siaya yesterday, you can get that story and read much of that story on page 6 of the People Daily. Now, as we move to page 7, Ruto Gachagua make peace amid Gen Z state crisis. Their comradeship, which seemed to have previously disappeared, is now back with both moving around together. Story by Samuel Karaoke. President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua appear to have amended fences and revived their previous comrade only days after the head of the state sent all his cabinet secretary packing. You can read that story on page 7 of the People Daily. Now, we also have a filler where refrain from making fake pledge, President told. The story is there by Gaston Vulasi. Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi, as indicated in the picture, has cancelled President William Ruto on 3 priority steps that he should adopt to get out of current crisis that his government has found itself in. That is, the president should refrain from making fake pledges. You can read much of that story on page 7. Now moving to page 8 of the People Daily briefly. But before I give you the brief, we have a story there. Protest show citizens don't trust government promises. There's a caption there. Will more taxation lead low cost of living? There's a question, as you can see in the picture there. Ruto inherited a battered, burden-laden economy, but added to the crisis by adding new tax levies. You can read that story on page 7 of the People Daily. We have briefly, protesters called for arrest of Kisii police. You can get there. We also have putting academic brains together. All those you can get on page 8 of the People Daily. Now page 9 is an advertisement free of our free newspaper, that is the People Daily. You will find the advertise there, the adverts there. Now moving on to page 10. On page 10, quote of the day. This is one of the most interested page of this newspaper. Africans are the primary knowledge holders of African samples, data, and historical context. We want more access to DNA and DNA research. That is a quote by National Museum of Kenya officer Emmanuel Diema. We also have a quote there by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, that is Chair Roslyn Odede. We condemn the abduction and the arrest and demand an immediate and unconditional release of all allegedly detained persons in relations to protests. Then we also have another quote by Meru MC Zipporah Kinya. If it is the only solution to get better services, let it be done. We are not scared by her counter threats to dissolve the assembly. We simply don't fear threats and intimidation. All we want is service. Those are quote, and remember this is editorial page, and we also have there press freedom, stop harassing journalists. That's a story that we had read there from editors, but it's a continuation on page 10. We have the picture of the day, the cartoon. Here is where we love it most. I have the capacity to stop it. Now we can see, I don't know whether this is the police commissioner, I don't understand, but there is their Gen Z's demonstrations. There's a tank full of water, and the tank is patched halfway, but still water is oozing out of the tank from different holes. And the picture there by a police saying, I have the capacity to stop it. While you can get to see the story. Gen Z's tender age is an asset, not a liability. You can read that story there. That's a feature story by Stephen Ndegwa. They are caught between their parents' world and one they want to discover. You can read that story there. That's a feature story by Stephen Ndegwa. Please get your copy and read that. Now, moving on to page 11, brace for torrent of monotone, assisted writing. A story there, feature story there by Henry Gekonde. Bots are tools for people who want shortcuts and don't want to sweat to produce original writing. You can get that story there. While we also have spotlight on Ruto as he assembles his new cabinet. You can also get that filler story there. Rebukes issued after attack on reporter are lazy. You can read that story there. That feature story there is by Marvin Chege. You can read that feature story there. Now, moving on to page 12, news bits. Kiambu Sacco rails for 300 million doubtful debts. Story by James Wekahiu. A savings and credit cooperative society in Kiambu County is railing under 300 million banned and doubtful debt from its past partnership with other land buying companies. You can read that story on page 12 of the People Daily. Kenya to host scientific hub for an ancient DNA research. African scientists remain starkly underrepresented on research teams involved in studying human evolution. Story there by Bernard Gituo. You can get to that story there on page 12 of the People Daily. Now, moving, we have a filler there. Police officer arrested for spare theft. You get to that story also on page 12 of the People Daily. On page 13 of the People Daily, I want you to pay much attention here. Crisis as budget cut affect teachers. Teachers Service Commission tells MPs that salaries, medical scheme, staff hiring affected by the reduction. And remember, this comes after the quashing away of Finance Bill 2024. and the president and the government had to go back to the budget and do the cut on the budget. And now, Teacher Service Commission is telling the MPs that the salaries and medical schemes, hiring of the staffs, is going to be affected by the reduction of the budget allocated to the Teacher Service Commission. You can read much of the story there. You get read much of the story there only on page 13 of the People Daily. Please grab your copy and read that. Now, there's an advertisement of reading VYBZ every Friday from every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. only on K24 by MC Full Stop and DJ Navel. Advertisement is there. Check out. Now moving on to page 14. Threats of PET plastic bottles. Nature's new king of trash. ENEP says approximately 2,000 garbage trucks full of plastics are dumped into the world's water sources. You can read that story on page 14 of the People Daily. Board drops Eldoret water boss over poor performance. You can also read that filler story on page 14. Officers who allegedly killed spouse was in toxic marriage, witnesses say. Now you can read the story there by Winston Chereseni. A female police officer accused of killing her estranged husband in cold blood last year had a troubled marriage with the deceased. The investigating officer in the murder case told an Eldoret High Court yesterday. You can read much of that story on page 14 of the People Daily newspaper. Page 15, we have the adverts there of Kalina Nabiashara with Linda Koskei. On Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. only on K24. We will have to take a short break. We are going to be back, and when we are back, we will start looking at the business hub, that is the business news. We are having a short break. Keep tuned, keep following us, keep sending your comments on BTV Kenya, that's on YouTube, Blackman TV Facebook page, BTV Kenya TikTok, BTV Kenya, that's on Twitter, and BTV Kenya on Instagram. Taking a short break, we'll be right back.
Welcome to Blackman Digital Graphics. We offer design, printing and branding services using large format printing, offset and digital printing. Our approach to printing, graphics design and branding is top-notch with quality services including roll-up banners, street banners, teardrops, reflective banners, telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 37 9308 or 0736 35 2224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya. and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics, quality you can trust. Welcome to Blackman Digital Graphics. We offer design, printing and branding services using large format printing, offset and digital printing. Our approach to printing, graphics design and branding is top-notch with quality services including roll-up banners, street banners, teardrops, reflective banners, telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 37 9308 or 0736 35 2224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics, quality you can trust. Welcome to Blackman Digital Graphics. We offer design, printing and branding services using large format printing, offset and digital printing. Our approach to printing, graphics design and branding is top-notch with quality services including roll-up banners, street banners, teardrops, reflective banners, telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 37 9308 or 0736 35 2224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics, quality.
Welcome back to the vibrant morning where when we stopped, we said, when we had a short break, we said we're going to be back to give you a review on the People Daily Business News. And we are back. Remember, you can keep sending your comments on BTV Kenya, that is on YouTube, Blackman TV, that's on Facebook page, on Twitter, BTV Kenya, on Instagram, BTV Kenya, and also on TikTok, BTV Kenya. Now, get news. Price 34%, up to 34%. Now, if you're a smoker, the price of cigarette is going to shoot. Popular brands by between 19.5 and 33.6% due to the significant rise in the production cost. The story there is by Noel Wandera. It means the different brands of the cigarette produced by British American Tobacco is going to increase. So be prepared for that, and you can get much of that story on page 16. African inflows of FDI liabilities doubled from 29.4 billion to 54.1 billion. Foreign direct investment (FDI) liabilities recorded a 22.0% increase in shillings 188.2 billion in 2022 from 153.3 billion in 2021, with Europe being the major source of the inflow as average of 49.8% of total foreign direct investment inflow, says the Central Bank of Kenya. Its latest foreign investment survey report. Now the Central Bank of Kenya on the latest foreign direct investment report stated that this has increased, has doubled from 29.4 billion to 54.1 billion. You can get to read much of the story for the lovers of the business. Now, Musk to move SpaceX headquarters over gender law. Billionaire Elon Musk has said he will move the headquarters of two of his most high-profile companies, rocket firm SpaceX and social media platform X, from California to Texas. You can read much of that story by BBC on page 16. MTech Workspace partner to provide integrated digital insurance offering. Story by Cynthia Tu. Kenya-based Insutech companies MTech has partnered with WorkPay for human resource and payroll process services, coupled with tailored insurance products for employees. Now you can get to read that and much of that story on page 16. Now continued business on page 17. UK banking agent HSBC names new signals continuity of plan. UK-based banking giant HSBC has announced that 50-year-old George El Hadri will be its next chief executive. It comes after the current CEO, Noel Quim, unexpectedly announced in April that he was retiring from the bank. Now, the UK most senior bank HSB is continuing by naming his new CEO. Now, moving on to Nairobi, passed a tough new rules. And Nairobi Coffee Exchange circular copied to all principal users of the auction directs that all transactions going forward will be undertaken under new rules. Now you can read the new rules that Nairobi Coffee Exchange has put in place. Now, briefly on the business. Kenya Power updates token meters of 4 million prepaid customers. The advert has been there. Update on your prepaid. Now you can get to read the story much, and there we have Kenya bid to host World Geothermal Congress, the 29th World Geothermal Congress. Kenya is bidding to host that. You can read much of the story there on page 17. Now moving to page 18, the Chinese business tycoon, that's Tycoon Guo, convicted in US dollars 130 billion scam. Guilty on 9 of the 12 counts he faced, including racketeering, fraud, and money laundering. You can read much of that story of Guo, the Chinese business guru tycoon who has been found guilty by the US government courts. More descendants now inquiring about unclaimed assets. Remember, the Unclaimed Financial Asset Authority, UFA, is now giving information that more descendants are now inquiring of much of the unclaimed assets. The story is there by Nicholas Waitahu. The Unclaimed Financial Asset Authority, UFA, says that the majority of Kenyans inquiring about the status of unclaimed assets are not their original owners. Speaking during a reunification clinic for unclaimed assets at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Sports Complex in Kisumu County, UFA Chief Executive Officer and Managing Trustee John Mwangi confirmed a significant increase in inquiries over the past years. So, if at all you believe there are some assets that would belong to you or by your grandparents, Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority is there for you. And now they are saying there are more descendants inquiring about the unclaimed finance assets. Now, on page 19, we have there Beatbox live music mix by DJ Blackman. That's only on K24 every Fridays as from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. You can get that more. Now, getting into the world news from People Daily World News. Lavrov calls for Security Council reform and criticizes West. Russian Foreign Sergei Lavrov delivered a pointed address to the United Nations Security Council session in New York, advocating for comprehensive reforms of the Security Council and criticizing what he termed over-representation of the Western nations. You can get to read much of that story there. French and Egyptian meet over Gaza. You can read that story also there. Kagame critics Ibari cast doubt over landslide victory. Kagame was re-elected as Rwanda's president for the fourth term in a landslide victory. Story from Kigali on Wednesday. Remember, Rwanda has been having an election and Kagame has been re-elected again. Rwanda opposition leader Victoria Ingabire has dismissed President Paul Kagame's landslide electoral win, challenging the legitimacy of an election where no candidate can really challenge Kagame. You can get to read that. UAE lift 2022 visa ban on Nigeria. You can also read that story on World News. Zuma faces removal of ANC after move. You can also read there. We also have that story there. And on page 21, click and clicks. Paradise of sweet desserts. You can get to see there. Time for a dance. You can also see their pictures there and much more. Get to see for yourself a copy of the People Daily. Now, moving travel-wise. Staying safe during political unrest while traveling. During times of civic instability, it is important for tourists to prioritize their safety and well-being. Here is practical evidence to ensure that individuals can navigate this challenging situation while minimizing potential risk. You can read that story there by Betty Mwindi and agencies. And on click and clicks, there is much more there you can get and check more. Optimize your dining experience. Place your food order like a pro. You can also get that on page for daily. 10. Explanation behind strange body reactions. You can read that. Well, when your body reacts strange, we have explanation there on page 24 of the People Daily. People Plus, that's on page 25 of the People Daily. Artists utilize body art to earn a living. You can get there. For Samuel Kanyigia, aka Creatively Kanyigia, his passion for the arts have given him the means to eke out living through painting other people's body. You can get to read that story and much more. Entertainment, planning, and different TV programs. You can get their KBC, KTN, Citizen, and TV on their different community TV, K24, and we also have the horoscope there, where you can get to know when your favorite TV program in a particular TV channel is going to show up. Remember to get to page 26 of the People Daily. Now, on page 27, this advertisement there of K24, you can find them on GoTV, Pang, Star Times, and DSTV. And we also have public notices there, and we also have auctions and all that. You can get their auctioneers only on page 27 of the People Daily. Now, page 28, the People Daily Sports. Report warns against air pollution in the Paris Olympic Village. You get that story there. Kenyan Susan Ejore targets Olympic glory in 1,000 meter debut. You can also get the story there, where our own Susan is eyeing to win the 150 meters race. You can get to check there. And we also have Gor Mahia Sekefa Kagame Cup runs end in disappointments. The Kenyan champions, Kenya Premier League champions, now their Sekefa turns into disappointment. Kenyan champions Gor Mahia endured a frustrating campaign at the 2024 edition of Sekefa Kagame Cup after losing to their final Group B fixture 2-0 against Al-Hayy Omdurman of Sudan on Tuesday. It is very unfortunate that Kogalo is out of Sekafa. It is okay, but you live to play another day. You live the fight for another day. That's what I can add. The Kogalos, they live the play for another day. Favorite in Malawi. Kenya's Clyde Seneji making wave Newsland after struggled at home, register glory in new territory. Now, he has been really struggling. Clyde has really struggled in the Kenya Premier League, but when he moves to Malawi, he's shining. You can get to read much of that story, sports story, on page 28 of the People Daily. Still on sports, on page 29, secondary school games, reclaiming the throne. Tactician Fred Sirenge of former champion Archbishop Jenga girls upbeat about clinching secondary school game throne in Bungoma County. You can read much of that on secondary school games and much more. We also have school final relocated after fatal incident in Kisii. Teacher succumbs. National secondary school team, 2 games have been relocated to Kisumu City, 107 kilometers away, due to the fans' violence and tragic death during the Nyanza regional games in Kisii County. You can read much of that on page 29. Matutu PAG stand Cordero Barra Boys in epic showdown. You can get to read that, but let me give you a glimpse story by Bosco Magare. Inasema debutant all a little known Cordero Barra Boys pipped Matutu PAG Secondary School 2-1 during pulsating Nyanza Regional School Boys Football Final at Moi Stadium in Kisumu. The triumphant team fulfilled Migori County Governor Ochilo Ayako's challenge to clinch regional trophy. But I want to tell you, Cordero Barra had been good. In Migori, during our days, it was the best team to watch. Now they are getting back on the spot to show how much they are. You can read much of the story there on page. India was banned for 3 years for doping. According to the World Athletics Anti-Doping Body, Jubet 35 has been banned for banned substance. You can get rid much of that story there. Our athletes are now facing and finding it hard. You can read that of the story. Latvia thriller. You can also get rid much of that story there. Corinthians won 2-0 and Criciúma 1. If you're a lover of football. On page 31, Eyeing Olympic hat trick. Eyeing Olympic hat trick. We have the photo there of famously known marathoners. And for the marathon for the 3rd time. You can read much of the story there. And we have Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo swims in River Seine ahead of 2024 Olympics. You have the story there. And down, Thomas Punch issues rallying calls ahead of Paris 2024 Olympic Games. You can get much of that. I love this. Greenwood deals on home stretch. English football forward reaches agreement with Marseille on principle over his departure from Old Trafford. Mason Greenwood has given his approval to join Marseille this summer as his exit from Manchester United inches closer. Remember, Greenwood had a lot of issues around him, but he has proven to be a very good footballer, a very good player. I don't know why Manchester is selling Greenwood. If it was me to give opinion, he would not have left. Kaplong Boys seized Rift Valley football title amidst fun-fiery game disruption. You can also read that and much more. Dear viewers, thank you for keeping tuned with BTV Kenya. That's what we had for you for the day today. That's on the newspaper review only on the Vibrant Morning with me, Isaiah Gagi. We have come to an end of this program. Keep tuned, keep following us on BTV Kenya and have more of the stories. Remember, you can grab a free copy of the People Daily and get more insight of the stories that I've just given you the glimpse of. Remember to keep following. Every morning we'll be here to give you brief of the People Daily newspaper. Till tomorrow the same time, keep tuned, keep watching. It is me, Isaiah Gagi, signing out for today. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.